apart from your book, I read a lot of books myself when it comes to personal finance and so forth. One of my favorite books was The Richest Man in Babylon.
Mm.
Are there any books out there, apart from yours, of course, that you really admire and have really changed your life?
That's a very good question because, again, I read those books and I didn't get much from it. I was a student of Buckminster Fuller. And he's the guy, my poor dad liked Fuller. And Fuller talked about mathematics. He says, how dare we lie to our kids? He says, our mathematical system is fake. And he says, there's no such thing as squares in the universe. And our whole mathematical system is based on square rooting and all that stuff. Squares don't exist. So I'm listening to this, and my poor dad was an academic type, said, this guy's Fuller's on it. He said, our math is ironic. And he was teaching math, poor dad was. And our system is really based on triangles, which was, anyway, so when I started studying with Fuller, I was young, I didn't know what he was talking about. So I hitchhiked from New York when I was going to school in 1967, and I went to Montreal Expo 67 in Canada. And Fuller had built the geodesic dome, which was a U.S. pavilion at the World's Fair in Montreal, Canada. I'm riding through this geodesic dome and going, oh my God. So then what happened is after I got older and all this, Fuller was doing a seminar at in Lake, outside of Lake Tahoe. And it was called The Future of Business. I went to listen to this guy. And holy mackerel, he blew my mind away. Again, the question is, Vlad, what does God want you to do? I started to listen to this guy. And ever since then, I kind of choose my own path, should I say. And so you got to find your teacher. So the book that Fuller wrote after he passed away was called The Grunch of Giants. Grunch stands for Gross Universal Cash Heist by R. Buckminster Fuller. And Grunch stands for Gross Universal Cash Heist. It's how our wealth is stolen via our monetary system, our school system, and investment systems. And I went, that's exactly what my rich dad was saying. So Vlad, Fuller and Rich Dad are about as polar opposite as you can get. But they said the same thing about money. So ever since then, I decided to do my own thinking. And that's why Buffett, no doubt he's a billionaire and all that. You and I cannot start insurance companies. I doubt we could. And Grant Cardone wants you to buy apartment houses with no money. So, I'm going, and Dave Ramsey wants to live debt-free. and I'm saying, just invest in your brain. Think for yourself.
There we have it, Robert Kiyosaki. Such a pleasure to finally sit down and talk to you. Like I said, I had bought the book a long time ago. I read it and reread it and got to reread it again in anticipation for this interview. What you've accomplished in your years is phenomenal. Not only in the books you've created, but also the business around it and also the investments and so forth. A lot of people could be one-trick ponies. They could have one great project and try to live off that project for the rest of your life. But the fact that you've had so much success in so many different areas and you've continued to have this success and you've continued to grow and influence so many people in a positive way, I think is phenomenal. And when it comes to people like yourself, I feel that your legacy is so important. This is why you've made the type of decisions that you've made along the way. You didn't make your money by cutting corners or trying to fool people and so forth. You made it by giving out good advice, bringing up actual examples, and influencing a lot of people to become financially better off, me being one of them. So I wish you all the best. And, while I was talking, while you were mentioning Grunch of Giants, I bought the audiobook version of it. You know what I mean? Because I always, for me, it's always like, it's interesting to me to find the people I admire and find out where they learn from. Like, for example, Warren Buffett, during reading his book, I found out that he actually learned everything from Benjamin Graham. So buying Benjamin Graham's book and reading it completely changed my life, more than actually Warren Buffett's book. So, but the ability to be able to connect the dots and figure out where ideas came from and originated from and so forth, I think is so important to success. So that's why I loved the fact that you told me about Grunch of Giants and, about Fuller, the author, and so forth. Wish you all the best and truly appreciate the time you spent with me today.
Well, Vlad, you're one of the best interviewers I've ever come across because you let me tell my story. But I'll just say one thing: the biggest asset is between this year and this year. It's called your brain, but it's also your biggest liability if you don't feed it well. So anyway, yes. I congratulate you for reading, listening to different people, reading so many different books, and making your decisions for yourself. And again, I'll just leave what Fuller said to my class back in the 80s. What does God want you to do? Go do it.
Go do it. That's what it is. Robert, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Peace.